Since when did planes become faster than trains? Oh, they've been so for quite a bit, Wilson. They're now firmly in the lead for anything speed-related. But just 10 years ago, the speeds they reached were nothing. Evolution, Wilson, and constant development has led to it. Same with railways. You were slower back in the day, but through ingenuity and development, you've become much faster. True, but that aircraft, does it carry passengers? Some do. It's a limited luxury, but it's still possible. Are we looking at possible competition? Not at the moment, Wilson. Planes are still a new and unproven technology in that field, so you don't have anything to worry about for now. Sure.
Well, Keith, fire away.
Well, as you know, sir, air travel is growing quite fast, now becoming a rather popular way of traveling. So, my cabinet, in conjunction with several other important parties, have outlined this proposal for a proper airport as a way to keep up with the rising trend. This facility will be a faster way for people to reach Soda from the mainland UK and Ireland as well. It's also expected to serve as the headquarters for the Sudrian Air Force, something that they've been wanting for a while now. The airport is to be built just outside Elsbridge, in an attempt to keep it as central as possible while still being of easy reach to Titmuth.
Interesting. A fair proposal, I suppose. But if I may ask, why do you need my approval for it?
Well, sir, it's more in the interest of you at least being aware of the potential effects it'll have on your railway operations.
What effects?
Well, since it serves as an alternative to the service you provide to London, it might take away some passengers from that service since they'll prefer the speediness of air travel.
How fast is it going to be?
Well, based on the aircraft they expect to use, we're looking at about 100 minutes between here and London.
100 minutes? That's an average speed of at least 130.
Well, planes are fast, sir. Plus they can fly in a straight line as opposed to railways.
Fair point. But looking away from that supposed negative, what else will this airport provide for the island?
Well, on the positive, it's a much better alternative for people to get to the island. We've had an increase in tourism these past few years, and this airport is set to greatly contribute to that by carrying more and more people to the island.
That is true. One thing though, you say it's supposed to be located near Elsbridge, just beyond the split-off. How are you going to transport all those passengers to and from the airport? You're a little bit outside Elsbridge, and any other major civilization.
That was something we had a major discussion about. A surprising amount of people wanted it to just be served by a bus line. While the bus line will still happen, I made sure, after a lot of irritating meetings, that you'll be guaranteed the right to a railway connection to the airport.
Oh, politics. So much bickering.
Well, the cabinet might be a bit tense at times, but at least we get the job done.
That you do, Keith. And thank you for allowing us to ride to a connection. I suppose it'll be a fine business to serve after all.
I think it will be. However, despite being rather close to the main line, I'm suggesting you not give it a station on the main line.
I was thinking of that too. Wouldn't want to clog the main line too much. It's a busy section, despite the presence of the goods loop.
Indeed.
I think what we can do is a small branch from Elsbridge to the airport itself. One that's a completely separate operation from the Farquhar branch in the main line.
Very good, sir. However you want to do it, I won't object.
Thank you, Keith. One thing though, I would preferably have the branch serve more than just the airport. At least one more business.
I'll let you figure that out. The only thing I want is for you to have that railway connection. However you decide to go about it, I'll support. And if that includes serving another business, then that's how it shall be.
You're a very kind and caring man, Keith. I understand why they made you Minister of Transport. You're the best one we've had so far. And to conclude this meeting, if you were seeking an approval from me about the project, you've wholeheartedly earned it.
I appreciate the kind words, sir. Let's hope it'll bring positive change to the island.
He has become quite good at it.
He's only gotten better ever since arriving. He has provided my company with some fine service, which I think has led to the expansion we've seen these past few years.
It's impressive how much you've grown, McCall.
And we can only thank you for that, sir. Your railway has been a great contribution. And now, we're starting to exceed capacity.
What do you mean?
Well, our milk production has had a particularly good yield this year, and our current dairy at Wellsworth is almost at full capacity. And with Charter now planning to introduce 2 further cow fields to our operations, we're at the point now where we'd need another dairy for our production.
Interesting. You know, I'm very happy that you just said that.
Why so?
if you were to get a new dairy, would it be a bad thing if it was somewhat close to Elsbridge?
As long as it has a railway connection, I wouldn't really mind where it is. Why do you ask?
As part of the new airport project, I've been secured the right to a railway connection in order to serve it. So far, it has resulted in a branch being proposed, which is to primarily focus on services to it. However, while the airport itself is a fine business, I personally think it would be more beneficial if it served at least 2 businesses. And for the past week, I've had a bit of trouble thinking about how I would tackle that. But you've just solved it for me.
A new dairy. Well, close to Elsbridge is perfect. It's close to me and to Trotter. Plus, it's a short run for Eric.
Exactly.
Well, I guess that's settled then. A new dairy just before Elsbridge.
It would seem so indeed. A perfect compromise for all parties. Well, I suppose I better make the arrangements for it. We have a bit of work ahead of us.
Wow, a lot of stuff happens when you're away on maintenance. What's going on here, Mickey?
Well, Thomas, we're currently constructing a small overpass for the branch.
Why are you doing that?
Well, that's because the branch's passenger operations are set to utilize platform 4 at Elsbridge, which hasn't really been used that much, so it's being given a purpose. However, in order for the branch to get to the platform without blocking the main line via a crossing, it has been decided that the best solution was this overpass.
Alright, but if that's the case, why didn't we just build the branch to the other side of the main line?
That's because, on that side, there's important farmland that would be very hard for the branch to run around. Plus, since the airport is set to be at a lower level compared to Elsbridge, we need a more level descent, which we couldn't achieve without entering from this side. Also, your little corridor here makes the route planning a lot easier, since we can just follow it until we split near the airport.
I suppose that makes sense. But that overpass, is it safe?
This overpass, Thomas, is set to be able to handle the concentrated weight that Gordon would give. And considering that an engine like Gordon is definitely not going to be handling these services, I can assure you that it'll be strong enough.
That's good.
You don't believe in our construction skills or what?
Of course I believe in your construction skills, Mickey. Don't be silly. It's just, we still don't know if we're going to be running the branch or if it's going to be someone else. So, in the case that it is going to be us, I'd rather be certain that it would be able to hold us.
I understand, Thomas. But in any case, you shouldn't worry. This overpass will be stable.
Well, that's very good to know. I suppose I'll leave you to it.
Right on, Thomas. See you later.
Evening, engines.
Evening, sir.
What brings you by here tonight?
Well, it's a few updates on the airport project. Thanks to your generous contribution wherever possible, the airport is now basically complete. And the branch is not far behind, expected to be done within 2 weeks. What will follow now is testing of the airport, which will eventually lead to the arrival of the new fleet for the first Sudrian airline, Sodar Airways.
That's very exciting, sir. I can imagine it's going to become quite busy.
They're expecting to carry around 30 or 40,000 passengers in a year. And that's just the passenger market. The airport will also serve the Sudrian Air Force, who are already moving in. We're also to help them whenever necessary.
And that new dairy as well. Sounds like there's going to be quite a bit of work. Exciting. Sir, how's that going to fit within our operations? Are we the ones who'll be in charge of the new branch?
No, Percy. The operation of the branch will be of no concern to you. It'll be a separate operation in order to ensure a better service for the travelers who'll be utilizing it. So the branch will get its own locomotive.
That's good, sir. Wouldn't want to strain ourselves with more work.
No, indeed. You three are busy enough.
Do we know who the new engine's going to be, sir?
You will in about a week. But I can assure you, I've found someone with a very dense track record.
That's a good start. Hopefully the new engine can adjust.
I'm sure he will.
Huh. Great Western coaches. Wonder how Duck will react once he sees those. Hello, Percy. Ah! Oh, poor fella. Still a bit scaredy, eh? Max? Max? Max! Hello, Percy. It's been a bit since we last saw each other, hasn't it? A few years by now. What are you doing here? Well, apparently you needed someone to operate an airport service. And Topham got you? I suppose he didn't take the hint I gave him in 28, but here we are. Then again, this time it actually does surround passenger operations, as opposed to farm trains. I suppose so. Well, travelers are going to be in for a treat if they're to be hauled by you. You don't think they'd mind an old geezer like me? Well, you're not the oldest engine on the island, so no, I don't think so. Is that so? Do I have some competition now? Well, they're from 55, so it's not by that much. So we're all ancient or what? No, you're not old at all, Max. You're just experienced. You still stick by that saying. I don't see why I shouldn't. Still the same Percy as I remember. Same for you, Max. Although, I didn't know you had experience with auto coaches. Oh, I have plenty of experience with these. They're actually my own personal coaches. They followed along in the purchase. I think they're also a key part of the planned operation. It allows me to operate a much simpler service, without occupying the other line by the platform. I've heard that's a pass-through for goods trains. It was completed in 1932. It is indeed a separate line for goods services, in an attempt to ease the pressure around this region. It was a bit of a bottleneck back then, so the line was a great relief. I see. Clever, I should say. But no passenger service for the platform, though. That's more just a result of the station design. The island there gives it 4 platforms, even though we only needed 3. But now we do need 4. Indeed. This'll be very exciting. Well, what do we have here? Would you be the new engine for the airport service? That would be me, yes. Excellent. Welcome to the railway. What's your name? Max. And I'm Toby. Seems as though you've been introduced to Percy already. I think you should call it a reunion rather than an introduction. Oh, would you be that Max that Percy worked with back in the day? Has he told? A bit. I expected so. Hopefully nothing bad. What bad stuff could I say about you? My influence on your purchase by this railway? Well, it seems that it has come full circle, so it's not bad anymore. By the way, I should probably ask, where did you go after the event? Did you end up being purchased? I did, but I very nearly wasn't. We're talking the final day of the event. It was about 4 hours before it ended when someone finally walked up and showed interest. Believe me, I was a relieved engine when he agreed to purchase me. I can imagine. So, who was he? His name was Philip Hazel Coulton. Now, Philip was a region manager of the Southern Railway, more specifically, the Isle of Wight section. Despite the fact that they already had a substantial roster of locomotives, Philip wanted a locomotive who could take care of some maintenance work and other odd jobs, and he thought my experience could be of great use. So, I was brought to the Isle of Wight, and I ended up doing more than that. I even handled passenger trains every now and then, and I did so for a few years. Eventually though, other locomotives came to the island and mostly took over my duties. I was relegated to pure maintenance work, but Philip said that there wasn't really a need for a permanent maintenance locomotive anymore. He said he was planning to put me up for sale, but he never got the chance to do that. Because, just a few months ago, shortly after I'd been relegated to maintenance work, the Isle of Wight had a visit by a certain stout gentleman that you might know. Oh yeah, Topham was there on holiday. Guess he stumbled upon you. He has worked with Philip in the past, so they spent a day or two roaming around Ryde, where I was stationed. Eventually, I was introduced, or rather reintroduced to him, and after Philip explained my predicament, Topham went a bit silent. He then told Philip that he didn't need to put me up for sale, because there was already a buyer ready. himself. That Topham has an excellent ability when it comes to timing. He does? Trust me, you'll get to see it. Very well then. Well, good thing that it's struck again. Like I said, the branch will see great service with you in charge. And with autocoach operation too. Great use of the single track platform. It's just more efficient. And in this case, I think it's a good thing. Too true, Max. Too true. So eventually, they had no choice but to assign me to the train. A train, mind you, that was originally assigned to an engine that was both twice as heavy and twice as powerful as me. And yet, I still managed to run the train on time, without any fault whatsoever.
So what you're telling me is that you can perform the work of a large prairie without trouble. Quite impressive, I must say. And definitely a blessing for the branch.
Considering the travel demand that the airport is expecting, a reliable transport option is paramount.
Indeed, and I think you'll be able to provide that.
The airport. What an alarming way to challenge the ways of carrying passengers.
Are you against the airport, Wilson?
Against is not the right word, Duck. Concerned is what I would say.
Why so?
Well, if it becomes the preferred way for people to leave the island, how will that affect the railway's operations? I might not run the Wild Noester, but I can imagine that it's the service that would suffer the most from the new competition when it comes to traveling to the mainland.
While I agree with the fact that the Wild Noester might be challenged by this, we shouldn't see it as a system that steals our passengers. For one thing, it's going to allow for the island's tourism industry to grow, since it helps bring people in from further afield.
And another thing, while there might be people who use it to leave the island, about as many people are expected to use it to get to the island. Again, tourism will help with that. It's going to be a constant flow of passengers, which in the end won't have any effect on the railway. But considering that it's still a fairly new technology, there's still room for expansion. There are already a few airplanes that are larger than the ones that the Soda Airways will use. And if the industry will grow the same way that railways did back in the day, well, it could provide an even stiffer competition later on. For travel beyond Sodor, say to London, then I can understand your concern. There's definitely a potential for it to steal some passengers away from express trains. One thing I will say though, is that when it comes to travel within the borders of Sodor, air travel will barely have any effect, if any. Plus, travel comfort will be far greater on railways as opposed to air travel.
My driver has tried air travel a few times now. I believe he said you'd be better off riding it with an empty stomach. In short, it wasn't the most comfortable experience he had.
Am I still just justified in being concerned?
Absolutely, Wilson. We're not saying that you aren't. That's just how it looks from your point of view.
And in the end, it's okay to agree to disagree. We'll just have to wait. Only time will tell who's more justified.
I guess so, yeah.
Morning, Wilson. Morning, Max. Something wrong? Just noting the effects on passenger numbers based on how many people get off here. Is it bad? Well, you remember that I feared that more and more people would utilize the airport for travel. Yeah. Now, I have noticed that more and more people get off here than usual, which is what I feared. But about as many people, if not more, are getting back on again. Is that so? Yeah, I guess you were right, Max. It would seem so, which is fortunate. How confident were you in your assumptions? Pretty confident, but not 100% sure, as no one should be. Indeed. But I did get something right in my assumptions. Oh? What would that be? Well, that's in relation to the Wild Nor'Wester. The service has seen a reduction in passenger use because more and more people are using the airport to get to the mainland. Oh? However, the change in passenger numbers are very, very minor. We're talking like 0.5%. Oh, yeah, that's minuscule. And on the flip side, according to Topham, the railway overall has seen an increase in passenger numbers. A percentage that is greater than the one on the Wild Nor'Wester. Really? Upwards of 4 and 5%. So with everything added up, the airport has had a positive impact on the railway so far. That's what it's all about. The overall impact it has had on the railway. Indeed. That's also what I was getting at. My trains have been rather packed lately, so I was expecting a positive change in that regard. And I guess you were right. Yeah, I guess so. And you've been able to balance that with dairy trains as well. Yeah, my passenger services are timed to match the schedule of the airport. So when it's downtime, I can focus more on the dairy operations. And even when I run passenger trains, the dairy still gets looked after by Eric, who pops by from time to time. How very kind of him. I mean, it is his job after all. Yeah, I guess so. Right, I gotta get going now. Well done on the service so far, Max. See you later. Later, Wilson. What do you have there, Percy? Milk from the farms along our branch. And who would that be for? Well, it's intended for someone who'll take them to the nearby dairy. Oh, really? Anyone in particular? Some wise and experienced Great Western locomotive. Well, good thing he's coupled to it already. No, remember my definition for experienced? Ah, you cheeky. You called for it. I guess so. Very well, I better get that underway.